This is Bloomberg Businessweek. Insight from the reporters and editors who bring you America's most trusted business magazine, plus global business, finance, and tech news. The Bloomberg Businessweek podcast with Carol Massar and Tim Stenovec from Bloomberg Radio.
All right, everybody. We have a great guest. If you come out to LA, yes, it's so much about the content business, the studios, and all the good stuff like that. But, you know, it's also known for some iconic sports teams. LA Lakers, LA Dodgers, LA Rams, just to name a few. Sports, too, is such a muse in terms of creating content here in the United States and really globally. And our next guest knows a lot about that. She's part of the LA Rams Inner Circle. She was in an earlier session here at Screentime. It was called Perfecting Your Partnership Strategy in the World of Sports.
I got to catch a little bit of it.
You did?
It was great. Good to have you with us this afternoon. Jennifer Prince, she's Chief Commercial Officer for the LA Rams. She's on site here at Bloomberg Screentime in LA. All about commercializing the LA Rams content business, helping connect the NFL team to a larger media landscape of social media, TV, and film. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
How was the session? It seemed like it went really well.
It was very dynamic. It went well, and it possibly could have gone on another 30 minutes.
I always feel like all of these, right? They're just such great discussions, and I think about the sports world generally. It is such a great, I'm no joke, it is such a great muse in terms of creating content. How do you think about it? You've got players, you've got teams, you've got lots of stuff going on.
Yeah, so sitting in the center of LA, we have an incredible team, an incredible brand. This brand is global. We have fans everywhere, and we get to play in SoFi Stadium, which is a beautiful mecca of, you know, what sports and entertainment and technology and that intersection is. And so we get to really lean into all of the assets, from the football players to the team to our coach, everything on the field, to then thinking about our brand and the way that we present ourselves and how we work with partners to reach our fans, our future fans, and really creating this intersection.
What's the thing that really moves the needle? That something happens, you post something, you know, and it's just like, it just blows up.
Yeah, so football first, right? Anything football.
From the game or any of it?
Any highlight, any moment, not only on the field, but also the arrivals and the talks with coach after the game, all of it. It all, resonates with fans, and it gives access. And so that access point is really what does well. Our fans, even naysayers, like to hear what coach has to say, whether we win or lose, and how he motivates the team and keeps the team moving. So I would say, like, the football first.
Silly me, I thought she was going to say Taylor Swift.
So,
well,
how much?
We have to ask.
How can we be? Let's be real. Like, were you guys? Can we have our Taylor Swift moment? Like, was it frustrating a little bit, or like, oh my God, because so much attention, right, has been on, Taylor, or trailer as they call it. So how do you think about that?
Yeah, so really the NFL is having a moment, right? When you think about the fan base and everyone who rallies around football, and then you think about that future fan, and you think of that younger female demo and how to reach them. I mean, this is a moment, and it's not like Travis Kelce needed any help. He will be a Hall of Famer. He's incredible on the field. But the two of them together, it's a phenomenon. It's something that is really impacting ratings, to jersey sales,
Are
to
you
social
guys seeing
media
it
following.
Are you also seeing an impact as a result?
I think just the overall consumption and who's watching and who's leaning in, we all need to lean into this moment. It isn't happening in our team, right, or within our family, but we still get to capitalize on what it means for this fan base to be so ripe and present at this time, which are young females.
Are you telling a member of the team, like, hey, there's a popular singer that's like...
I think she's not available.
Do you know what I think about the old Hollywood studio system, right? And they would link actors and actresses together just so that their pictures showed up, just to create some momentum. I know. Who's saying, right? Who knows?
We don't know.
Well, it brings up an interesting point about the presence on social media that these players have, even before potentially signing with a pro team. How do you work with the players who have this direct connection to make sure that, look, what they're posting is something that aligns with your own values?
Yeah, so listen, I spent 9 years at Twitter.
We'll get there.
Almost
we'll
2
get
years
there.
ago to come, and so everyone has a personal life. Everyone has a point of view, and those who are notable can use their voice and carry their voice in all the right ways, and also can make some right and left turns. It isn't my job specifically to work with the players and player marketing. That's our CMO. We have teams of people doing that. But we have a really great team, I would say. We have incredible players who are not necessarily leaning into things that they shouldn't be, and we like when they're using their voice, that helmet off, who they are as people, going through their journeys, their paths. Everyone has a story, so we like for them to tell their own story. But it's always something just to keep our eye on, but we have those who are well behaved.
And if not, they probably get reminded to be well behaved. Don't we all need that
Yes.
occasionally? Who is it that you like to take meetings with to figure out how do you best kind of leverage your brand?
Yeah, so we have over 100 partners, and we don't just want to create volume and scale around these partnerships. We like to partner in deep, meaningful ways. We like to say we partner with purpose. And so when we're talking to brands, right, the existing brands that we have, from SoFi to Toyota and Pepsi to Verizon, we have so many incredible brands, and usually those want to lean into us who are doing sports marketing, want to reach a future fan base with us and reach our existing fan base in meaningful ways with surprise and delights and offers and access, like I talked about.
What's the read that you're getting from your partners right now on the economy? We love talking to people like you because you see where the money's going. You see how much money is going to certain places.
Or not going.
Exactly. What is the read on the economy that you see from your purchase chief commercial officer?
Yeah, so, we have the benefit of sitting in Los Angeles, and we are working typically with not only heads of marketing, but those in the region who are looking to increase sales, produce outcomes with us. So we like that we are a bridge and a conduit to providing outcomes. So that it's not just the upper funnel fun stuff in terms of marketing with brands. It's also getting down to metrics and measurement. So coming from a world that was highly measured, I ensure that my team has all the right partnerships in place with vendors so that we can provide outcomes. And so when we hear from a brand that they're doing incredibly well with us, we dig into that. What does that mean? We want to make sure that we're marching with our brands to the outcomes.
Is anybody pulling back, though, because of the economic
So,
environment?
you know what, there are, I was going to say, so the few categories, right, that are having a harder time is whether it's crypto or some mortgage finance, interest rates, like the things that are present right now that you're more familiar with. Those are the categories who are at times having to either readjust or realign, but commit in different ways and at different levels.
All right, you're in an elevator with somebody who really matters, more important than us, and they said, give me 35, 40 seconds on Twitter. You know Twitter, this company. What do you say?
You were there for 8 years, vice president.
Don't eat up her time.
On content partnerships. What is it?
Eat up time. Listen, I worked at Twitter. We were priding ourselves on being this megaphone to the world and really where public conversation could happen. We did all the right things. I left December of 21 a long time ago. What Twitter is now, it's just taken on to be X. It has a little different meaning, the way that they're leaning into product innovation, and no comment really other than I had incredible years there and miss those that I worked with.
Do you still use it?
I do. I'm not posting as much or tweeting, or it's not tweeting, it's posting.
That's kind of where I am.
And so
I'm
consuming for sport more than I'm talking about myself.
Yeah, it's a different world. Me too. I find myself backing up. What a pleasure. Thank you so much. So enjoyed
Appreciate
it.
you.
Jennifer Prince, she's Chief Commercial Officer for the LA Rams, on site at Bloomberg Screentime in Los Angeles. I'm Carol Massar along with Tim Stenovec. Don't go anywhere. More to come from Screentime here on the West Coast.
You're listening to the Bloomberg Businessweek podcast. Catch us live weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 Eastern. Listen on Bloomberg.com, the iHeartRadio app, and the Bloomberg Business app. Or watch us live on YouTube.
Going viral can be good or it can be bad.
I feel like it's more often bad than good.
Well, anyway, a discussion here at Screentime was kind of all about this. It was entitled Viral Lessons, and it included top creators of social content. We have one of them with us. Drew Afwalo is TikTok creator and host of the comment section. Welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We are excited to have you here. And it is, right, viral. Like, it can be such a great thing, and then it can be rough. How do you ever think about when you're doing something like, all right, I'm going to get a lot of crap for this?
I mean, yeah, for my niche in particular, absolutely.
You get a lot of feedback.
Yeah,
Feedback is one way to put it.
Yeah, feedback is definitely one way to put it. I built my business off the shoulders of men who hate me, so I'd call that a win for women of color. I think it's been a real consistent barrage of hate for so long now that I think it's just white noise to me, specifically from misogynistic people in general. But
when you started, what did you think about what you wanted to do?
I mean, when I first originally started, I just started telling silly stories that made me laugh and made me giggle. And so some people started kind of relating to it. And then I had one video that really took off, and then it kind of just snowballed into this crusade, which I'm happy to carry out. And I have been for a long time now. But yeah, it was never anything I thought was going to happen, although now I'm glad it has.
But when you carry it out, I mean, it's not without its own challenges. You've been blocked, you've been banned, your account has been shut down.
Absolutely.
How do you get past those things?
I mean, I think I just, even when I lost my TikTok account 4 times, I got locked out of it. And it was when I was on a real growth spurt. I was growing 100,000 followers every other day. And so I got banned twice first, then I got signed, then I got banned 2 more times.
Why did that happen?
Mass reporting, which is an issue that I've talked to TikTok about too, which helps. It helps to have, a team. I think me getting a team really helped in that sense.
Do you have a direct line to TikTok now?
I have a rep. I think most creators do who are verified. They have some sort of contact person that they can reach out to if they have any issues at all. And once I got my contact person, I think it really kind of helped. Also, getting verified helps too. It helps legitimize you in the eyes of the app and also
Drew,
the algorithm.
We're in this era of trying to figure out so much social media out there, and there's misinformation, there's really problematic information, there's dangerous information, and then there's opinion and entertainment. Mm-hmm. What do you think is the fine line here?
I mean, I think for my particular niche, there is really no other side. You see bigotry platformed openly and publicly, so I respond to it accordingly. I don't give them a chance to defend themselves because I don't really want to hear why you feel so bigoted and felt it was funny to platform it and perpetuate and uphold all these different forms of oppression. I don't need to hear the other side because I've seen it for myself. So I feel like for my content in particular, I like to describe mine as it's a real one-way street on my platform. I see what you say. I don't give you a chance to defend yourself. I make fun of you publicly, and since we're all joking, let's all laugh together. I love to laugh.
So I guess my question is, we love to laugh too. Is it working? I know it's working for you professionally.
Yeah.
And you've built an amazing following. You're among the people on TikTok with the most followers. I mean, 8 million at this point. Is it working do you think, to make the space safer, to make the platform safer? Does it deter these guys?
Yeah, to an extent, yes, for sure. I at one point I felt like I did too good of a job of cleaning up the streets of TikTok because I couldn't find anybody. But I don't think it necessarily gets rid of it entirely. I don't think that I could never have that kind of impact. I think what it does is it instills a very real fear that other people who sit lower on the oppression ladder experience every single day, not just on social media. So they experience that all the time. That fear is very real of being attacked. And so the men that I choose to stitch have never felt that way before. Now it's instilled a fear in them. If you do it, there is a chance I will find it and I will talk about it. So they have to decide for themselves whether or not that's worth the risk. And some of them decide it is, and some of them decide it isn't. So I would say it definitely has made a difference. I wouldn't say it's gotten rid of it entirely. I mean, I think that would be crass of me to take credit for getting rid of misogyny because that's not true by any stretch.
Oh, it's still out there.
Yeah, for sure it is.
Sorry.
And I think my bigger goal, though, is not necessarily to get them to stop. It's to empower all the people that they hurt all the time.
Well, this is where I want to come to, because people come up to you, right? Listeners. And people who don't have the voice that you do. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure they're grateful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about that, the feedback you get from just, I hate to say normal people, but
yeah,
people who don't have platforms.
I mean, it's one of the few things that makes me emotional, when it comes to my TikTok journey. But it's also one of the few things that makes it worth it because, I laugh and joke all the time about, getting hate from men because it is true. It's silly in a very superficial way. But in a very real way, there's a very real danger that has come with me doing this for a living. Like, it's posed a very real threat to me and my family.
You're talking about security.
Yeah. Overall. Because, when bigots are bigots, they get so angry that sometimes they want to kill you because they see your content. So it has posed a very real threat to me and my family in a lot of ways. I've taken extensive precautions and measures to protect myself and my family, but it is a risk I had to make peace with. So, when I hear testimonies from people who have used my content in a very real way, like they've put it into their lives in a way that has made a huge difference for them, it makes it worth it. I hold those kinds of stories so dearly when I feel like I can't do it anymore, because it does get really hard at certain points, dealing with the very specific niche that I find myself in. So, I've heard many different stories, like from women who are in their 50s who got a divorce because they've been watching my content. I've heard testimonies from trans women who told me my content kept them on this earth longer than they planned to be. So I've heard many different stories that have made me very aware and confident that it is impacting in a very positive way.
You realize the power of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Drew, this is Bloomberg. We follow the money. We want to know about the money.
So where do you think the 10-year yield is going to go? Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You came here with, it's not just you. You have a team. And I mean, a team of people. I'm looking at them right now. It's like
we're going
half
to
a
take
dozen
a picture
people.
afterwards. And tweet it out.
This is your full-time job.
Yes.
Talk to me about, the money behind this, the brand deals that you have.
Sure.
Please share some numbers if you can.
CEO of you.
Oh, yeah. I have a pretty extensive team as of right now. I have an agent, I have a manager, I have a lawyer, I have 3 publicists, I have a stylist, I have a hair and makeup artist. I actually have 2 managers. Yeah, 2 managers. And, the list goes on. I have lots of, I work with people at Spotify, I work with people on my book. I have very, very expansive team, which I think it takes a village, right, to run something like this. I could never do any, even half of the things I have done just by myself. So I'm very grateful for a team. But yeah, I'm very lucky to have worked with many different brands that I admire.
But a team is expensive.
Yes, yeah, for sure. They're expensive, but it's all about, I think, what's worth it to you, right? So the only way I get bigger opportunity is by hiring experts, and I'm not too proud to admit that I don't know everything about this business. So, yeah, sorry.
It's like they're listening. No, they are. Just 30 seconds. When you think about working with a brand, what's got to be top of mind? Is it about the financial composition of it, or is it also who they are? Just really quickly.
I think finances play a huge role for sure. Obviously, I'm a business, and I have to remember that we're a business. But at the same time, I think as long as their ethos matches mine and they understand my platform and agree with it and feel empowered by it, or feel like it needs to be spread even larger, I think that's really all I focus on.
Well, congratulations, and for willing to make the fight for people who don't have a voice out there.
Thank you so much.
It's really cool stuff.
Thank you.
Drew Afwalo, TikTok creator, of course, and content creator, I should say, and host of the comment section, joining us here at Bloomberg Screentime.
You're listening to the Bloomberg Businessweek podcast. Catch us live weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 Eastern on Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business app, and YouTube. You can also listen live on Amazon Alexa from our flagship New York station. Just say, Alexa, play Bloomberg 1130.
We got a great guest with us this afternoon. Laura Miles, president of entertainment and technology at the $35 billion market cap and gaming giant EA. You also might know it as Electronic Arts. She knows this company well. She was the former COO and Chief Studios Officer of EA as well. She's with us right now at the Bloomberg Screentime event here in Los Angeles. We're in sunny Hollywood. How are you?
I'm great. Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
What a great event.
It is.
Well, what do you get out of something like this?
I love the cross-section of technology, media, and then just the conversations that are happening. So the presentations are awesome, but the richness comes from the, getting a cup of coffee and having interaction and exchange with people. I just did a talk about gaming, and it was great to hear people from nonprofits that are very passionate about education and how gaming can contribute to that. And I don't know if I would have had that. I don't know if I could have organized that or have, planned that conversation. So it's great. It's great to be here.
It's so funny. It's a very Bloomberg-ish kind of thing where we all kind of have to run into each. We don't have to, but we just do. But it's amazing that you're like, oh, I didn't know you were doing that. Maybe
the happy accidents, right? Yeah, great.
Happy accident. Tell us about your world and when you were thinking about. Actually, let's go to the big story. Let's talk about soccer.
Okay.
Can we go there first?
Sure.
In terms of this long-term relationship that you guys have with FIFA, and now you're doing your own thing. Was that a complicated, difficult switch to do?
It's been years in the making, and it was such a great time for us, given shifts that we're seeing in the industry, shifts we're seeing in technology. It was a moment for us to say, hey, gosh, can we really create our own brand? And EA Sports Football Club is the idea and concept of it is such an inclusive idea for players and partnerships we have with clubs. We have 19,000 athletes in the game, and so it's remarkable. And where the industry is headed is you think about games now as platforms. And you have, in the case of EA Sports FC, we have a mobile game, we have online game in Asia, we have the HD premium game, and they're all about this big ecosystem, hundreds of millions of players in this, and they play multiple versions of the game, and they socially connect, and they create together, and they watch games together, and so that's really the future and what we're seeing in the industry. And when we think about electronic arts, we also have Battlefield and The Sims and Apex and Skate. And so you apply this model of this connected ecosystem, these massive online communities. We see that that's a really important direction for our growth and where we're headed.
But this game, I mean, FIFA is legendary. One of the best-selling series in the world, more than 375 million copies sold, versions in 20 different languages. And for people who are just catching up, and there's a great article in this week's edition of Bloomberg Businessweek, EA and FIFA were not able to come to a licensing agreement. So this year, it's not called FIFA anymore. It's called EA Sports FC 24. How do you make sure that consumers of the game, people who are new to it as well, know that this is the next iteration of what last year was called FIFA?
Are they already?
Well, we launched EA Sports FC 24 a few weeks ago, and we are so thrilled with the reception of the game. And keep in mind, the game is everything that it was. Again, we have 19,000 athletes, over 300 clubs and partnerships. So when players in Liverpool show up, their club is there, their athletes are there, and that's what's really meaningful to them. That was super important that we maintain that integrity of the experience. And so, and we were also able to innovate in the game with some really great technology and really realistic soccer experiences and animation and with the players. And so I think
it's amazing when you guys get so specific on details in terms of whether it's how their shorts move. Like I know our story in Bloomberg Businessweek talks about it, but it does say something about the attention to detail, so that when somebody is playing, it's like being at a real.
It's about realism,
right?
and having that expression. And I am a soccer player on the the pitch, and so I think that's what players really look for. So we're really proud of where it's landed, how the game is received by players right now, and where we're headed. That's the exciting thing. Again, these connected communities are massive.
So what do you do with that? Because when we talk about connected communities, I think we go to the traditional social world, right? And we think about those communities, better or worse. Tell us about that community and what's the power of it, and where else you can go with it.
The idea about play. Clearly, games are about play, competing and playing games, right? And as we continue to think about our design and our innovation, we really want to extend the modality of experiences for players. So creation in games is also significant right now, really big. Creating your own objects, creating your own modes so your friends can come play, and then the next modality is watching that, and so people can record and create short form videos and then broadcast that. And then to your point, the social connection around all of that is what is really meaningful, and that's the flywheel multiplier effect of engagement. We have people spend billions of hours in our games every year. It's remarkable how much time people spend with us. We'll launch a game, and they can come back and play it every day over a whole course of a year. We used to launch 20, 30 games a year. We launch maybe 7 or 8 now, but we launch 400 to 500 live service updates a year. And so we're there for players with events and seasons and content and just keeping the game alive. And to your question about social engagement, having those components, having those events, and having those shared experiences is super important for the social engagement.
To keep going back.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Say, okay, now what's new, or what's going on?
Where's the growth happening for EA right now? Is it with the same people buying more games, playing these games more, or are you successfully bringing more people into gaming?
It's both, I would say. So first, really meeting the Gen Z, Gen Alpha motivation and need through creation, through self-expression, through sharing content, and then that social connection around. That's super important for us to hit that key motivation of that generation of those players. And then I would say that players as well spending more time in our games is also another area of growth for us. So we look at, continue to expand our TAM, having, bringing new players into experiences, whether it be through new gameplay modes, new brands, new franchises. Apex has been a huge success for us, and that's been a great game for younger players. And then just having more content for players. Our Sims game, Sims 4 right now, is about 10 years old. And we continue to put out content. People just continue to spend even more and more time. So new players, larger addressable markets, and then just more time in the games are really critical.
All right, this may be a little weird, but, coming off of Barbie.
Go there.
And I know that's been a big conversation here, but I do think, folks are saying, nobody would have thought, they've talked about a Barbie movie forever. It finally happened, and it was a really huge success. And so I think anybody who owns any kind of toy property is like rethinking. So how do you guys think about, okay, now where's another avenue that could be a great content creator for gaming? Where do you go? What do you look for? What kind of trending or, innovators or TikTokers? Who is it or what is it that you look at?
Well, the beautiful thing about where we are right now as an industry is that as we look to our players, this idea about creative self-expression and creating sandboxes and tools and frameworks for them to create experiences, I think it's been phenomenal to see what people create and how they engage with our tools and our worlds. And so we've been inspired by...
You could just keep kind of playing that out.
Yes, completely. We're super inspired by how people think about things and, in ways that are very unexpected and how they engage and interact in our world.
Microsoft is trying to pull off a huge acquisition of
Have you
Activision
heard?
Blizzard.
Oh, I don't know if
that's happening in your
right?
world.
Terrible.
So what does that mean for you, being sort of among the last, quote unquote, independent, publicly traded game studios, if this deal goes through?
Not like we're like a lawyer or an M&A.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think it's, well, first of all, I think it's amazing, actually. This will be one of the largest tech acquisitions in the U.S. history, I believe. And the fact that it's about gaming is remarkable to me. And it just punctuates the significance of our sector and what gaming is to technology and media and entertainment. So I think I just think it's interesting and really positive for the perception of
But what about your relationship with Microsoft then? What happens?
We will maintain a strong partnership, and they're an important partner to us. They have a meaningful platform. And of course, they have PC as well, and so we will maintain a strong partnership.
No concerns.
No concerns. I think it seems like all of the things they've gone through to get to this point.
The government's concerned.
Exactly.
Several different governments are concerned.
They are, and there seem to be a lot of things they're putting in place.
But like a lot of the technology world, right? It's complicated.
Yes.
Like these relationships, and yet you have them, but you compete, and that's just the way of the world, right?
And it has been that way. And to your point, it is getting more complicated. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But again, it's fascinating to see where gaming is going to go in entertainment and the role that gaming can have. Again, the engagement model that we have relative to linear content or for streaming, I think that, but the bundling of content in the future is going to be meaningful partnerships that we can have with media and entertainment companies and technology companies in the future.
So lots of conversations.
But there always have been, right? There always have been partnership conversations, and I would also tell you that making games is really hard, as evidenced by several large companies that have invested billions of dollars and have tried. And
you could do it, but to do it really well.
You have to do it really well. We've been in business for 40 years, and it is. I think it's the highest form of entertainment and media that exists, and so it's very complicated and very hard to make great games. So yes, there is interest in.
Can you just dig a little bit into that? Because the Bloomberg story in the magazine kind of gets into that, like just creating, whether it's face or the shorts moving like you would expect it to do. Can take a long time, right?
Yes.
With coders and so on and so forth, like to figure
the iterations of it,
yes,
and game engines, and AI is going to play a pretty meaningful role for us in content creation.
How so?
The way that we're looking at it, so AI has always been part of our company. If you go back even 1988, Madden had 22 players on, little AI players on the field. So we are an AI native entertainment company, and always have been. And we're looking at AI in a way of optimizing what we currently have. So we know that AI can optimize tools and workflows for our developers and so our players as well as they're creating things. And then also AI is going to help us expand content. So we talked about there are 3.4 billion players in the world. On average, they spend 4 to 5 hours a week with us. And so you could have all developers in the planet and not develop all the content and meet all the demand that exists. And so AI, I think, is going to play a meaningful role to help our creators expand content and creation. And then, of course, it can be very transformational.
Can I ask you, who's a typical gamer? Because it's massive, and the amount of time people are spending on your platform. Who is your, I hate to say average gamer, but who is your typical gamer?
Well, I love this question because of 3.4 billion gamers by the end of this year that we project, close to 50% are women.
That's what I had.
And so I love that. And mobile devices are incredibly significant. I mean, there are mobile devices everywhere in the world, so we can reach all corners of the world. So that's the beautiful thing about it. I don't know if there is a typical gamer. And that
age? Is there a typical age?
No. I mean, we have you have people that are Gen Xers that played games. They play a significant amount of console games. You may have Gen Alpha, Gen Z playing on PC and mobile. So it's quite. It's an incredible place to be.
What is your favorite game that is not made by EA?
World of Warcraft. As I played many years.
Yes. Okay. What is your favorite game that is made by EA?
Command and Conquer Red Alert.
That's amazing. You are allowed to have favorite children.
Do you play a lot?
I love this.
I do. I play less probably than I have, but I play a lot of mobile games now because they're so accessible. I travel a lot, and so it's great too.
And plus, it's working when you're playing games.
And it's working.
It's
research.
It's
R&D.
Exactly.
Really interesting stuff. So love it, and thank you for finding some time for us. I know it's been busy.
Thank you for having me. This is really fun.
Laura, so appreciate it.
Yes.
Laura Miele, she is President of Entertainment and Technology. Did I say the name right?
Yes, you did.
Whew. Okay, we like to get it right. Of course, at Electronic Arts, joining us here on Bloomberg Businessweek. I'm Carol Massar, along with Tim Stenovec.
You're listening to the Bloomberg Businessweek podcast. Catch us live weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 Eastern. Listen on Bloomberg.com, the iHeartRadio app, and the Bloomberg Business app. Or watch us live on YouTube.
Bloomberg Screentime. It's all about this, really talking about the content creators, where they're getting kind of their ideas from. And we've seen athletes, we've seen TikTokers, we've seen, executives all coming together to talk
sports,
about it.
Culture, business, entertainment, the future of content. Also, covering all of these issues, the new issue of Bloomberg Businessweek. It's out now. It's on newsstands. It's online at Bloomberg.com/Businessweek. And it's on the Bloomberg terminal. I got it in my hands right now. It's all about the conversation we've been having at Screentime from Disney's Bob Iger and his next act to struggles that EA is having in life after FIFA.
So let's get to it, because right with us is the two individuals who put this all together, the new issue of Bloomberg Businessweek. Brett Began, of course, he is Businessweek's senior editor, and of course the editor of the magazine, Joel Weber. So when did you guys start thinking about, this has been a big event.
It's been a while. Yeah.
Time.
Months. But, I think that there's some really important ingredients here, and we wanted to think about some of those stories that we felt like would be imperative to have in this issue. There's a couple, I think.
What was the first idea you're like, got to do it?
I think to talk about Disney in this context was a really important one. 100-year anniversary for the company. Things have not gone especially well since Iger's return, and so to make sure that we had a moment to talk about what Disney and what an effort there can look like and the challenges. It speaks to such a lot of the turmoil that is gripping the industry right now, I think, as everybody tries to find what a profitable growth strategy can look like. And obviously this was a place where he helped put it on a certain trajectory, and then things have kind of changed when he left, and he has to come back and kind of have this second act and a strike that has not gone his way. Like, there's a lot of interesting elements of tension there. Brett, what else did you feel like had to be in a Screentime issue?
Can I just say, too, what was really cool is that has come up so much in so many of the conversations.
Such the defining element of, like, how does this industry and business models find a way forward?
Right.
I would say that, even bigger than, movies is gaming, of course. So we were fortunate to be publishing around the same time that EA's new soccer game came out. And
talk about timing.
Yeah, for anyone listening, they know that FIFA, the game formerly known as FIFA, is like, the biggest game in the world, basically.
You basically refer to it as EA's FIFA. You just call it FIFA and play FIFA.
Yeah, everyone knows what you mean. And they decided not to. Well, there was a disagreement about the renewal.
It was complicated.
Let's say it was complicated. And so it was life after FIFA became a really big story, because even bigger than Hollywood is gaming. I mean, it's absolutely massive. So the opportunity to look at the biggest, or one of the biggest franchises in all of gaming, and to figure out how does a company that was so reliant on a name, like what do they do in their post-FIFA era, and how do they still claim that top spot?
You want to give that away? What do you do?
Well,
That's the question that the article asked.
yeah, the article basically says, well, you just rename it.
Called FC.
Essentially. Call it EAFC.
You know, we had a great talk earlier today with Laura Miele. She's president of entertainment and technology at EA. We spent a lot of our conversation asking her this question. She's optimistic about it, though. She thinks they can pull it off.
It seems likely that she's probably right. One of the things I thought was so cool and interesting about the article is the amount of time that they spend dealing with things like the players'
Shorts.
We talked to her about that.
So, I feel like they're spending a lot of time on things that are really important to the people who play these games, and as long as they keep doing that, I think gamers will probably be okay with not having the World Cup.
There just is this incredible image in that story showing FIFA in, what was it, the 1990s?
Yes.
Right next to a picture of FIFA today.
Right.
And it's incredible to see. Each year it's incremental, but when you look at it 30 years apart, it's mind-blowing.
Yeah. Well, and those shorts and the way they wave are going to blow your mind now, right? The other thing I learned that I thought was really interesting about that is that I talked to Alyssa Thompson here, who's on our ones to watch list. She's a forward for Angel City here in LA. She's also a member of the national team. She's in the game, right? And there's this whole other thing that's happened is that it's always been men in the games, and now all of a sudden women are in the game. And you think about what that changes for girls growing up, where they can play, or boys, they can play as anyone they want in the game. It speaks to the reach that video games have always had, and it can get bigger still, right? That's an impressive thought.
The ones to watch. You actually talked about it a little bit here last night. Talk to us about those individuals and what you guys were looking to do, and how you figured out who you wanted to single out. Brett?
Yeah, so, I think, we're talking about Hollywood. What does Hollywood always look for? What's next, right?
Yeah.
Who's the next big thing, then the next big star? So we set about, months and months ago trying to figure out, well, who do we want to draw people's attention to, so that, you can be at a cocktail party and you can say, well, that person is a big deal, but you should really be paying attention to so-and-so. So Alyssa Thompson's a great example. I had a nice conversation this morning in the studio with Brooke Michael Kane, who is basically looking at how the concert-going experience can be brought into the year 2023. People going to concerts has basically been the same experience
Sphere,
for 20.
perhaps?
So outside of the Sphere, right,
Okay.
Which is its own thing.
Everybody's
own
talking
universe.
about Sphere.
It is.
I know.
But that is not really. It's hard to replicate that.
Maybe
obviously.
they can do it in the UK.
maybe. But that's really relies on a residency model. So I wanted to get her take on how can we just improve this experience a little bit. So she's literally working on things like how to direct people to the shorter beer line, how to help people with parking, how to get them a better seat if they have already seen an artist live. So we're looking for people who are thinking about the big questions of tomorrow and sort of answering them now in part, but hopefully in a year down the line, 2 years down the line, they've got a fuller answer.
The other one I really liked there was the guys who are trying to transform DC, right? So it's we've seen what Marvel could accomplish. It's been a 20-year, just incredible. Not even 20, 10 years.
You're talking about DC Comics.
Yeah.
DC Comics, yes, sorry. Yes.
Not watching.
I will say for a
DC
moment,
has
I'm
its
like,
own drama.
oh.
Yeah. No,
You see, we can't help you.
there are some things beyond our capabilities.
That's
But what these two guys are going to do there is going to be one to watch, because we saw a Marvel universe unfold.
Yeah.
And what they have the potential to do with DC is to kind of reboot the other side, and we're going to have these big comic book wars, I think.
And it's really interesting because they're now coming at this at a time when we're starting to see some fatigue in this universe. The movie sales are recently for Marvel have been a little bit down. So, how do you basically try to do what they've done in an era where people have already been through 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 movies, right?
That's a lot.
Right. How do you come in now and try to make it feel vibrant and fresh?
I have an idea. Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
There's just one more story I think we have to talk about too, which is
Can I just say, way to fix it, Taylor Swift, but we'll come
yes,
back
there's
to her.
that. You know,
We'll come back to her later.
I think in every
She can fix anything.
event at Screentime,
Right?
the name Taylor Swift and Beyonce, both you can't 3 words that you can't have Screentime without. BTS, obviously this amazing band, global reach, put K-pop, I think, just became a household word. But they didn't do it on their own, right, Brett? And the guy who actually made them has a new thing.
Right.
Because people didn't know about BTS, they're on pause right now.
Right. So BTS, not just to make sure we're not confusing our audience, not ones to watch. Clearly already established.
They've been watched.
Many have been watching.
Many have been watched. But yes, the mogul behind BTS, his name is Bong. He, even at their height, when they were, selling out arenas all over the world, like any good executive has to start thinking about life after, this band. And all boy bands go through cycles. There isn't a boy band you can name that didn't have a huge peak and then a huge valley. So what is his next act? So he's kind of trying to do a multi-pronged strategy, and we had Lucas Shaw, and so he came sort of look at this strategy for the magazine. So they're trying to build basically a music tech company. They've launched an app that they hope will better connect fans and bands. And the other thing they're doing is in LA, they're basically trying to put together a new BTS, but it's going to be a girl group. And they're drawing in people, women from basically all over the world. So they have people from Brazil, Sweden, China, US, all here, all trying to become the next big girl band. So they've got that going on.
And the tryouts are underway.
They've already eliminated, I believe,
you get voted
6.
off the island.
Is it like a reality show?
It is. There's a Netflix documentary about it that will air next year. They are basically voting people off the island, and people can vote. So Weverse is that can vote through Weverse. And YouTube and TikTok, and they are slowly eliminating people. They're going to eventually form a group, and then this group is going to record an album and tour. And he's hoping that they can export this model basically to other cities, so they can say, okay, it's called Dream Academy. And they're hoping they can take Dream Academy and say, let's do Dream Academy, I don't know, Berlin. Let's do Dream Academy, Sao Paulo. Like, they're just going to try to export this model. Once they have it down, the thinking is, hey, this works. We'll just replicate it. We'll see.
Hey, Joel, well, go ahead.
Oh, I think that is like such an amazing experiment, because we've seen how a band like this, you create it right, and it can hold pop culture for 5+ years, 10 years.
I mean, drive it, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting because we were talking about this movie that Taylor Swift is coming out with.
Yeah.
And Beyonce's doing one. And I asked,
Who is this Taylor that you speak of?
Taylor Swift. Yes, perhaps you've heard of her, Carol. Kind of a big deal. I was talking to Brooke Michael Caine this morning, and I said, who else could do this? The third band she mentioned was Blackpink. Huge K-pop band. That's the only other one she thought could do this. So there actually is a tie-in there, and I think that they're hoping this new band can rise to that level.
But you think about creating a model like this, right, where that it becomes its own franchise, and you can not only do it once, but you could replicate that again and again. You basically create your own little engine. And I think that's a really interesting thing, and it speaks to, let's properly bring it back to Taylor,
All
and
roads
Beyonce.
lead back, Joel.
Well,
And
look,
Beyonce.
like, it shows what fandom looks like now. And in pop culture, it's like you can have that relationship with an artist in a way that I don't think we've ever quite seen it happen like this. I mean, it's one thing when you think back about what the Beatles were able to do in that moment in time, but, like, there's an intimacy now that I think, especially with Taylor, where she, like, turns her vulnerabilities into, like, business success.
Yeah.
Right? And, we have this story in the issue, but what she's basically done by re-recording her own albums to make sure that she retains those rights, because she didn't like how that narrative was going. It's like she's not done with that yet, right? And everyone listens to that new drop, and her fans will do everything for her. Go to the theater or go to the concerts where tickets are upwards of $1,000, and now, like, AMC had to, like, released the movie a day early because they were all sold out already, right?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It is kind of fascinating, though, that you're right. Taylor has come up in almost every talk I've heard. But the flip side of that coin is whenever it looks like she's about to pioneer a new model that other people think, oh, well, let's just do that. People say, Taylor can do it because she's Taylor Swift, and that's it. So don't get ahead of yourself. Don't start thinking that you can do a concert of any other band and they'll sell out movie theaters.
Joel, I wanted to say, it's a Screentime issue, but a story about Bonds snuck into this issue. Okay, it's actually a super fascinating story.
There's a couple.
You guys have an editor or what?
Here, as well. Yeah. Look, we have to talk about everything in the world. I mean, and look, like we'd be remiss to not talk about what's happening in Israel too, right?
Yeah.
But
which has also come up a lot
in the financial markets. What's happened in fixed income and bonds. It's like, look, like this bond again thing. Turns out it's really bad, and that story is about. This goes back 250 odd years. People haven't seen it be this bad for a really long time.
You should have seen the face of Drew Afwalo when we said, so where do you think the 10 years is going to go? We were just kidding. Joel Weber, Brett Beacon. It's a great new issue of Bloomberg Businessweek. It's the Screentime issue.
I'm driving in my car. I turn on the radio.
How about you let me drive?
Oh, no.
Who's gonna drive you home?
Honey, please, I'll do the driving.
Drive on.
Excuse me, I want to drive.
It's the question that drives us.
This is the Drive to the Close
That funky music will drive us till the dawn.
on Bloomberg Radio.
All right, everybody, just got under 18 minutes left in today's trading session. You are listening and watching Bloomberg Businessweek live on the West Coast at Bloomberg Screentime. Tim Stenovec and Carol Massar
Hey,
here.
that's me.
That is you. What a fun conversation with Drew Afwalo.
Yeah, it was really good.
Really cool stuff.
Hey, you know who else is on the West Coast?
Yeah.
Russ Gerber.
Russ Gerber.
He's president and CEO of the Santa Monica-based Gerber Kawasaki Wealth and Investment Management. They've got about $2.3 billion in assets under management. They've also got an actively managed advisor shares Gerber Kawasaki ETF. It's been around for a couple of years. It's got a market cap of about $17 million. Ross joins us this afternoon from Santa Monica. Ross, how are you?
I'm good. I heard you're in LA and you didn't come by and say hi.
I know. And I was in Santa Monica last night. It's beautiful. But next time we're here, come visit us in person.
I will.
Talk to us about the market environment and what's interesting for you at this point. Is it a little bit challenging?
Yes and no. I actually like this environment because I think the Fed has well overdone it. So, we're seeing peak rates in here, and we haven't seen the economy roll over. The economy continues to be strong, and so we're expecting a much better than expected earnings report for Q3 here. And then as we move into Q4, once again, I think the economy is pretty solid here. So, if the Fed really gives us more clarity and backing away from this constantly rising interest rate, bearish, hawkish talk, I think it will really be a great potential environment for the economy going into next year. So, I'm bullish. I like this. It's a 1 year anniversary of when the bull market started. Technically, we're up nicely since then, and I expect that to continue over the next couple of years.
Yeah, but Ross, you said that the Fed, you think, has overdone it. I mean, do you think they've overdone it to the extent that something out there is going to break?
Well, the biggest risk to me is commercial real estate and who owns the debt on commercial real estate, because that, has a secular change with offices not being very popular among the youth, on top of a tremendous amount of overbuilding and leverage. So, as bonds mature, with interest rates of 2 to 3% and need to be refinanced, especially in the real estate sector now at 8, 9, 10% rates, these will all go into default. So the damage the Fed has done hasn't actually been felt yet in the economy. It's going to take years because they froze the real estate market with such a rapid increase in rates. And so we really won't know how much damage and who will really fall. But we've seen it in companies like Hudson Pacific Properties, which owns a lot of real estate here in LA, and the stock's down, 75, 80%, really being in commercial real estate. So, I think the Fed's caused a lot of damage to the economy, and it'll take years to fix it.
Ross, something we always talk a lot about is Tesla with you. I believe it's still the top holding in your fund. And we've talked about the car itself. We've talked about the individual, Elon Musk, of course, behind Tesla. And we've talked about the company. And I'm assuming you still like it. You like the car. What was interesting here at Screentime, we're walking into the event, and it's kind of a whole experience. And as you walk in, you're passing some really cool cars, and that includes some other EVs, like the BMW EV. And it's just a reminder that, a few years ago, Elon kind of had this space, certainly the high-end EV space, to himself. It's a different game today. What changes your mind, if anything, ultimately, about the company and the car?
Well, to start off with what you started with, I 100% agree. Even my partners here at GK have diversified. So one of my partners has the i7 and another one has a Rivian now. And so we park next to each other, my Plaid next to the i7 next to the Rivian. I think it's the RS one. And they're all great cars, like I really like the Rivians, and in LA, the Rivian is becoming like what Tesla was, as like the cool higher end car to own. And Teslas, I think, are now priced the same price as Priuses. And I think people look at the Model Y much more like a normal, like Prius kind of car, which is good and bad, for Tesla's brand. So, as Tesla moves forward, they have to accept that the competition actually exists now and is pretty good, and it is affecting their sales. I don't think there's any doubt.
But you still think it's worth owning. It's obviously a big holding. You're still in for the long run?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one must look at Tesla as the whole. So we're going to sell almost 2 million EVs this year, and we're going to launch the Cybertruck hopefully any day. And the Cybertruck will be, an incredibly impactful vehicle, and also help sell other Teslas as well. So we will see an increase in production going into next year. And then the three other businesses that Tesla, I'm super excited about, one being charging. They are the dominant player in charging. There is nobody even close to them in charging, and they will have probably a monopoly on charging in this country, maybe globally. Then you have energy storage, which is like this massive opportunity, and it's been super helpful in LA and Texas, for example, and California have had benefits from putting in battery storage and keeping our grid solid during a really hot summer. And then the third is full self-driving, which actually yesterday I saw a Waymo car driving next to me with no driver, and that's the first time I've seen a Waymo car not having a driver in Santa Monica, in heavy traffic area where I use full self-driving. And I was actually fairly impressed that it was doing this because, quite frankly, it's dangerous. There's a lot of people around, a lot of kids walking around. So, full self-driving
maybe got
is
lost
a reality
on its way, from the Bay. Yeah, maybe got lost on the way from the Bay. Hey,
I don't know.
Hey,
I
Ross,
mean, it was driving pretty well,
about
honestly. So, yeah, I think full self-driving is a real thing.
Did you get closer or did you move away?
No, I got closer. I wanted to like watch it work through it was like I was right by the pier where it's like kind of crazy. So, but I was turning, so I didn't get to actually see it navigate through some difficult stuff. But it did. Nobody got run over. So full self-driving is coming, whether it be Waymo or Tesla. A lot of people think this is much farther away than it really is, but it's not.
Hey, Ross, we only have about 30 seconds left, but just give me some comments on the ETF, which you came on our program a couple years ago when you launched it. I was surprised to see it's only got about $17 million in assets in it right now. What's holding you back from bringing more in?
Well, we started at the top of the market, so that was no great timing, thing, which is really typical, actually, starting ETFs, because everybody wants you to do it when you're at the top of your game, right? And then we went through a very difficult year, so our performance kind of sucked in year one. In our second year, we sort of started really making back funds, and moving forward into this calendar year, we've had a pretty good year. So I think we just need growth back, and people will invest in the ETF,
Yeah. So appreciate it. Listen, Ross Gerber, thank you so much. The fund is up about 13% so far here in 2023. This is Bloomberg.
This is the Bloomberg Businessweek podcast, available on Apple, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. Listen live weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 Eastern on Bloomberg.com, the iHeartRadio app, TuneIn, and the Bloomberg Business app. You can also watch us live every weekday on YouTube and always on the Bloomberg Terminal.